Ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully, because the smallest word you whisper into a man's ear can either make him lose interest or make him think about you every second of the day. I'm not talking about shouting. I'm not talking about arguments. I'm talking about nicknames. Yes, those little words that sound harmless, but when used right, they can make him feel things he can't explain. Words that unlock his emotions, words that make him chase you. But be warned, these are forbidden nicknames. Once you use them, there's no going back. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by telling you this. A name is not just a sound. It's not just syllables leaving your lips. A name is power. A name is identity. Think about it. When you walk into a room and someone says your name, you turn around, don't you? Instantly, you feel recognized, seen, acknowledged. It is the most personal word in your entire life, and that same truth applies to him. The way you choose to call him, the nickname you wrap around his name, it doesn't just touch his ears, it seeps into his very soul. Words can build empires, but words can also destroy them. And when it comes to relationships, the name you choose to give a man can determine whether he sees you as just another face in the crowd, or as the one woman he cannot live without. Now, I need you to understand the psychology here. Men are not complicated in the way they want you to believe. Beneath the surface of confidence, strength, and bravado, there's a deep craving, the desire to feel significant. Every man you've ever known, from the toughest one in the room to the quietest, carries this same need inside him. He wants to matter. He wants to feel irreplaceable. And when you choose the right nickname for him, you tap into that desire. You speak to that hidden place where he questions his worth, where he wonders if he's truly enough. A single word from you, a single name, can silence his doubts and make him feel like the man he was born to be. That is the power of naming. Think about history, think about culture. The greatest leaders, the strongest warriors, the men who stood at the front of armies, what did they have in common? They carried titles. Not just names, but words of reverence, words that demanded respect, words that elevated them above the ordinary. And here's the secret: men have not changed. Your man, the one you're thinking about right now, he wants to carry a title too. He might not admit it, he might laugh it off, but deep down, he wants to hear something from you that no one else says. Something that tells him, you're not just any man, you're my man. And when you give him that, he will rise to it. He will live for it. He will obsess over the woman who makes him feel that way. But here's where most people get it wrong. They throw nicknames around carelessly, like loose change. They use words that sound sweet, but have no power. They call every man the same thing: babe, honey, sweetheart. And then they wonder why he doesn't respond, why he doesn't feel hooked. Let me tell you something. When you use a word every other woman has used, it loses its magic. It's not forbidden anymore, it's common. And men don't obsess over common. They obsess over unique. The forbidden nicknames I'm talking about aren't the ones you find in a greeting card. They're the ones that fit him and only him. The ones that awaken something no other person has ever touched. That is why choosing carefully matters, because the wrong nickname, it makes you forgettable. The right one, it makes you unforgettable. And here's another layer. A name can change the way a man sees himself. Did you catch that? The way he sees himself. If you call him in a way that belittles him, even jokingly, he starts to shrink in his own eyes. He starts to question himself, question his role, question his strength. But if you choose a nickname that elevates him, even if it's small, even if it's subtle, he begins to step into that role. You are not just calling him by a name. You are shaping his identity. That's why some nicknames become addictive. They don't just make him feel good in the moment. They make him feel transformed, and the man who feels transformed by you, he will not leave you. He will not forget you. He will not stop thinking about you. So I ask you, do you see why this matters? Do you see why I call them forbidden? Because once you know the power of naming, once you see how it works, you can never go back to careless words. The nickname you choose can be the difference between him seeing you as temporary or seeing you as permanent, between him walking away or holding on for dear life. Words are not harmless. Words are weapons. Words are crowns. Words are chains. And the way you name him determines which of those he feels when he thinks of you. That right there is the power of naming. When I say every man wants to feel like a king, I don't mean he wants a crown, a throne, or a royal robe. What I mean is this: deep inside, he wants to feel honored, respected, and seen as the man who can lead, protect, and provide. But here's the truth. He will never come out and say it. He won't admit it at dinner. He won't confess it in conversation. Why? Because pride won't let him. But make no mistake about it, he craves it. He craves that moment when a woman looks at him not as just another man, but as her man. The one who stands taller, stronger, and braver in her eyes than anyone else in the room. The right nickname, even without using the word king, can give him that exact feeling. And once you've given it, he can't stop chasing it. Think about it. Respect is oxygen to a man. You may give him love, you may give him care, but if he doesn't feel respected, he suffocates, he withers. He grows restless. But when he feels respected, when he feels like you see him as capable, as strong, as valuable, suddenly he expands. He walks differently. He talks differently. He lives differently. And here's the beauty of it. You don't need to write a speech or give him a medal. You just need a word, a nickname, something that tells him without grand gestures, you are my strength, my anchor, my protector. You never once said king, but you made him feel like one. And here's where the forbidden part comes in. Most women throw respect at men only when it's earned. They wait for him to prove himself before they give him the words that make him feel powerful. But obsession doesn't work that way. Obsession is born when you give him the feeling before he's fully earned it. When you say, I see more in you than you even see in yourself. That's what grips him. That's what makes him addicted to you. Because now, every time he hears that nickname, he doesn't just feel respected. He feels challenged. He feels inspired to rise higher, to step into the greatness you already spoke over him. That's how you make him obsessed. Not by telling him he's perfect, but by naming him as if he already is. Now, let me tell you why this works. Men are builders. Give them a blueprint, and they'll work day and night to create something real. But they need a vision. They need to believe it's possible. When you call him by a name that crowns him with respect, you're handing him that blueprint. You're saying, this is who I see when I look at you. And whether he's earned it yet or not, he will begin to work toward it. He will begin to build himself into the man your words already claimed he is. That's why the right nickname is powerful. It's not just describing him, it's shaping him. It's not just about who he is today, it's about who he will become tomorrow. But there's a warning here too. Don't fake it. Don't use nicknames you don't mean, because men may not say much, but they can feel when it's empty. They can sense when the respect is hollow, when the words are borrowed, when the title doesn't fit. And once they sense that, the power is gone. You can't make him obsessed with empty praise. The forbidden nicknames only work when they are rooted in truth, when you actually see his strength, his effort, his potential. If you don't mean it, don't say it, because the second he believes you're just flattering him, the magic disappears. the crown falls, the kingdom crumbles. So here's the takeaway. Don't just call him king. Make him feel like one. Not with noise, not with fake words, but with a nickname that speaks to his spirit. A word that tells him, you are not ordinary. You are not replaceable. You are my man, and I see greatness in you. That is how you honor him without worshiping him. That is how you crown him without a throne. That is how you make him obsessed, by showing him that in your eyes he already reigns. Let me tell you something powerful. Intimacy is not always found in grand gestures. It's not always in candlelit dinners, roses on the table, or weekend getaways. Real intimacy hides in the smallest of moments, in the words you speak when the world isn't watching. That is why the forbidden nickname, whispered softly, carries more weight than any loud declaration. A man doesn't obsess over what the world hears. He obsesses over what only you say to him. And when that nickname is private, secret, meant only for his ears, it becomes addictive. It becomes a code, a sound that tells him, this is ours. No one else has it. No one else will ever say it this way. That's not just a nickname anymore. That's intimacy sealed in language. Think about it like this. When you whisper something to a man, you change the energy. The world could be loud around you, the television blasting, the phone ringing, but that whisper cuts through everything. It's personal, it's direct. It feels like a secret, and human beings are wired to hold onto secrets. The forbidden nickname, spoken in a whisper, becomes his secret to hold. It's not for the public. It's not for his friends. It's not for his family. It's for him and him alone. That sense of exclusivity is what hooks him. Because in a world where everyone demands his attention, you gave him something only he can own. Now here's the magic. The whisper transforms even the simplest word into something powerful. You don't need an exotic nickname. You don't need a complex phrase. The delivery is what makes it unforgettable. Imagine calling him by that private name when you lean close, when your voice lowers, when it feels like it's just the two of you even in a crowded room. That's when the word sinks deeper than the surface. It becomes not just sound, it becomes touch. And men don't forget the women who touch them in ways others can't. But let's go deeper into why this works. A man might receive attention all day long, from co-workers, from friends, even from strangers. But rarely does he receive intimacy. Rarely does he feel like someone is speaking directly to his soul. When you create a nickname that belongs only to your relationship, and then you wrap it in a whisper, you're feeding that hunger. You're showing him that with you, he is not just another man. With you, he is special, private, chosen. That's what sparks obsession. Not the loud applause of the world, but the quiet affirmation of the woman who sees him like no one else. And here's the twist. Intimacy in language builds memory. Every time he hears that whispered nickname, his body will remember. He could be driving alone, sitting at work, or walking through a crowded street, and suddenly that word echoes in his head. He'll hear your voice saying it. He'll feel the way you leaned closer, the way you made it soft, the way it felt like it was just for him. That memory becomes a trigger that pulls him back to you over and over again, no matter where he is or who he's with. That's how you make a man obsess, by planting a seed in his mind that keeps blooming every time he remembers your voice. So never underestimate the intimate whisper. It may seem small, it may seem quiet, but it's louder than anything else in his life because it goes straight into his core. A forbidden nickname, when whispered, doesn't just live in the moment. It lingers. It stays, it replays, and the more it replays, the deeper it embeds. That's why the whisper is not just a way of speaking. It's a way of claiming. Without announcing it to the world, without shouting it from the rooftops, you mark your place in his heart. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how obsession begins. Every man you've ever met carries two versions of himself inside. On the outside, you see the adult, the worker, the thinker, the provider, the tough one who shows the world he can handle it all. But inside, hidden deep within, is the boy he used to be. That boy never truly disappears. He may grow older, get taller, stronger, wiser, but a part of him will always long for the comfort, the care, the playfulness he once knew. And here's the secret. When you discover the nickname that awakens that inner boy, you unlock a part of him no one else gets to touch. That is why I call it forbidden, because once you awaken it, he becomes addicted to the feeling only you give him. See, the childlike trigger works because men, despite their armor, crave safety. They crave the space to let their guard down, to stop performing, to stop proving themselves for just a moment. The world doesn't give them that. The world demands strength, demands results, demands perfection. But you have the power to give him something different. When you call him by a name that speaks to his softer side, that allows him to be vulnerable without shame, he won't just enjoy it. He'll need it. He'll crave it, because it's not weakness you're seeing, it's humanity. And when you honor that part of him, he feels a connection he cannot replace. Think about it. Why do men fall so deeply for women who bring them comfort? Why do they remember the ones who made them feel safe more than the ones who only gave them passion? Because passion fades, excitement dies down, but safety lingers. Safety becomes a home inside his heart. And the childlike trigger is your key to that home. It's not about treating him like a child. It's about reminding him that with you, he doesn't have to wear the mask. He doesn't have to be the warrior every second of the day. He can rest, he can laugh, he can be light again. That feeling is priceless. That feeling is addictive. Now let me be clear. This doesn't mean you strip him of his masculinity. It doesn't mean you make him feel small or incapable. No, the forbidden nickname works because it balances his strength with his softness. It tells him, I see all of you, the fighter and the dreamer, the man and the boy, and I accept both. Most people only love parts of someone. They admire the strength, or they comfort the weakness, but rarely do they embrace both fully. When you use the right nickname to trigger his inner child, you're telling him that both versions of him are safe with you. And once he feels safe in your presence, he'll tie that feeling to you forever. Here's the beauty of it. The childlike trigger doesn't just connect you emotionally. It also creates joy. Men may act serious, focused, and hardened. But when you call him by a playful, private nickname, you give him permission to laugh, to smile, to feel light again. It brings out the carefree version of himself he rarely shows. And let me tell you something, when a man associates you with joy, with laughter, with a return to his childlike spirit, he will chase that energy for the rest of his life, because the world takes so much from him every day, but you gave him back a piece of himself. That is unforgettable, so remember this. The forbidden nickname that taps into his childlike trigger is not just a word, it's a doorway into the part of him that still longs for care, for comfort, for playfulness, for home. Most people will never see that boy inside him, but you can bring him out with just a word, and when you do, he won't just like it. He'll cling to it, he'll cling to you, because in you, he finds something rare. He finds the one person who makes the man and the boy feel whole. And that wholeness, that's what keeps him obsessed. There are nicknames that bring comfort. There are nicknames that bring safety, but then there are the ones that light a fire inside a man. These are not gentle, these are not soft. These are forbidden because once you use them, you spark something in him he cannot turn off. The fire starter nickname is the one that makes his pulse race, his mind wander, his body ache with curiosity and desire. It's not just a word, it's a flame, and flames, my friends, cannot be ignored. You don't whisper this one to put him to sleep. You whisper this one to wake him up, to stir his imagination, to make him restless in the best way possible. Here's why it works. Men are wired to chase, to pursue, to conquer. But when a nickname teases that side of him, when it carries an edge of danger or playfulness, it shifts his entire focus onto you. Suddenly, you're not just the woman he likes. You're the spark that makes him feel alive again. And men become addicted to the things that make them feel alive. Think about it. He might have responsibilities, stress, endless to-do lists. But when you drop that forbidden nickname, you cut through all of it. You remind him of passion. You remind him of the thrill. You remind him of the fire he thought he had buried. And now, you've tied that fire to your voice, your presence, your word. The beauty of the fire starter nickname is that it's not obvious. It's not about calling him handsome or sexy, like every other person might. No, those are common. Common doesn't burn. The fire starter nickname is personal. It's unexpected. It carries just enough mystery that he can't stop wondering what you mean by it. It creates tension, delicious tension, that keeps replaying in his mind long after the moment has passed. He'll lie awake at night thinking about it. He'll be in the middle of his day, and suddenly your voice calling him by that name will hit him again. That's what obsession feels like, when he can't turn you off, no matter how hard he tries. And let's not forget, fire spreads. Once you ignite it, it grows. A nickname that sparks his passion in private moments will begin to shape how he sees you in every moment. Suddenly, your texts feel different. Your laughter feels different. Your touch feels different. Why? Because now everything about you is tied to that heat. You've created an emotional wildfire, and it doesn't die down easily. In fact, it leaves him craving more. Every time he's with you, he'll look for that spark again. Every time he hears your voice, he'll wonder if you'll say it again. And the more he wonders, the more obsessed he becomes. But here's the danger, and the reason I call it forbidden. Fire is not something to play with carelessly. If you use the fire starter nickname too often, it loses its spark. If you throw it around casually, it becomes just another word. The key is timing. The power of this nickname lies in when you use it. Drop it when he least expects it. Say it when the energy shifts. Whisper it when the air is already heavy. That's when it hits the hardest. That's when it sets him ablaze. You're not just speaking to him. You're igniting him. And men don't forget the women who ignite them. So, understand this. The fire starter nickname is not about control. It's about energy. It's about becoming the one who can turn his temperature up with a single word. That's rare, that's dangerous, that's why it's forbidden. Because once you light that fire in him, you don't just live in his thoughts. You consume them. And once you've consumed his thoughts, he will never see you as ordinary again. He will see you as the flame he cannot put out. Every relationship has words that belong to everyone. Babe, honey, sweetheart. You hear them in songs, in movies, in everyday conversations. They're nice, sure. But they're not rare. They're not unique. They don't separate one connection from another. And that's why most nicknames fade with time. They're recycled, they're repeated, they're shared with a past, maybe even with a future. But the forbidden nickname, the one I call the Irreplaceable Code, is different. It's not a word that exists for everyone. It's a word that exists only for him and only from you. And once you give it, it becomes a code he cannot find anywhere else. See, human beings are obsessed with what is unique. We're wired to treasure the rare, to hold tight to what feels one of a kind. And for a man, when you create a private nickname that only the two of you share, it transforms into more than just language. It becomes a bond. It becomes your secret. Every time you say it, he's reminded that no one else can give him this. He could talk to 1,000 people, but not one of them will have that same word, that same sound, that same feeling. It's yours, it's exclusive, and men obsess over exclusivity. They crave the things no one else can touch. Think about it like a key. In life, men have many doors: work, family, friendships, responsibilities. Most people can walk through those doors, but the nickname that becomes the irreplaceable code, that's like the master key to his private vault. That's where he keeps his true emotions, his true fears, his true hopes. And when your word is the one that opens that door, he can't close it anymore. He doesn't want to, because now every time he hears it, he feels you're not just calling his name, you're unlocking him. And the man who feels unlocked will never forget the one who holds the key. But here's the danger. Codes only work if they're protected. If you give this nickname to everyone, if it's not truly unique, it loses its power. He won't obsess over something he's heard before. He won't treasure what feels replaceable. The magic of the irreplaceable code is that it is private, sacred, untouchable. You can't let the world hear it. You can't throw it around carelessly. It's not meant for your friends. It's not meant for social media. It's meant for him and only him. That secrecy, that privacy, is what makes it burn into his memory. And once it's burned there, it stays, and let me tell you what happens next. That nickname begins to carry weight. It's not just a sound anymore, it's an anchor. He could be at his highest point, celebrating success, and when you say it, it pulls him back to you. He could be at his lowest, feeling broken, and when you whisper it, it restores him. That's the kind of power an irreplaceable code holds. It becomes more than language. It becomes identity. You are reminding him who he is, who he belongs to, and where his heart finds home. That's why he can't replace you, because even if he tried, no one else would know the code. No one else would hold that key. So understand this. The forbidden nickname that becomes the irreplaceable code is not just about affection. It's about legacy. It's about creating something in his heart that cannot be duplicated, cannot be imitated, cannot be forgotten. And when you achieve that, you don't just make him love you, you make him obsess over you. Because to him, you are no longer just a person. You are the only one who speaks the language that unlocks him. And once you are the only one, you are irreplaceable. So here we are, 6 keys, 6 forbidden nicknames. 6 ways to step into a man's mind and heart so deeply that he cannot let you go. We've talked about the power of naming, how words can crown him or crush him. We've talked about how to make him feel like a king without saying king, about the whispers that become your secret code of intimacy. We've uncovered the childlike trigger, the place where he feels safe to put his armor down. We've lit the match of the fire starter, the nickname that stirs his desire and wakes his passion. And finally, we discovered the irreplaceable code, that private word that belongs to no one else but you and him. Now, listen carefully. These nicknames are not toys. They are not to be tossed around carelessly. They are not tricks. They are not games. They are tools. Tools of connection, tools of intimacy, tools of power, and with great power comes great responsibility, because once you speak these words, once you unlock those doors, once you light that fire, there is no going back. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Because obsession is not born from chance, it's born from choice. And when you choose your words carefully, when you speak life into a man with the names you give him, you become unforgettable. You become the thought he can't escape, the memory he replays, the standard he cannot replace. So I leave you with this: words build worlds. Choose yours wisely, use them with intention. And when you do, when you dare to use the forbidden nicknames, you won't just have his attention, you'll have his obsession.